Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Clear Insight's next webinar in our series we're running on TM1. We're glad to have everyone that has joined us. We're just beyond the top of the hour here now, and a good portion of our folks are here. I'll just give it another 15 seconds, and then we will begin the webinar. Okay, well, thank you everyone for joining. I know some of you on the call, some of our folks on the call are our clients, some are past webinar attendees from some of our TM1 series, and a good number of new folks on the call as well. So an extra special welcome to you, and certainly our hope is that this webinar will be a benefit to you. So why don't we get started. This, of course, is TM1 tips and tricks for the business analyst. Taking it to a little different level than our last one, was more detailed, probably at a lower, deeper level for more the developer and some of the developer tools. And we did a questionnaire at the end of that, and there was a number of folks that requested kind of higher level day-to-day usage tips and tricks on using TM1, and so that's what this one is targeted at here, and hopefully it will be of benefit to everyone on the call. So our agenda today, we'll do a few little introductions and objectives, and then as we like to do, it tends to bring folks engaged and bring them online. We're going to have a couple of surveys, and we'll ask you to participate in that survey. Your responses are anonymous, but it gives you a good chance to give us your feedback and also to see what other folks, what stage of their progression they are in with TM1 as well. Following the surveys, we are going to go into the meat of the webinar with our TM1 Insights for the Business Analyst, and we'll be walking you through quite a number of specific tips and tricks and demonstrations that we'll give to you live, and then we'll leave time for Q&A and wrap-up. And while I see that Q&A point there, it's a reminder to me to remind you that we want to make this as interactive as possible and to give you a chance to provide your questions in. So you will see in your window a chat. Please send your questions in as the webinar is proceeding, and we will do our best to answer those questions and leave enough time at the end for Q&A. So please make sure you enter your questions in as we go. So on the line today, myself, Ian Margerson, responsible for business development, Megan Coleman, a solution architect with Clear Insight, Kit Chan, our services leader, and Susan Malik, president of Clear Insight. And so we're happy to be your host today for this webinar. So as mentioned, many of you online are our clients, but there's a number who may not know who we are. We are Clear Insight. We are an IBM business partner, but we're focused on the Office of Finance. And with respect to that, of course, TM1, Cognos Disclosure Management, Cognos Enterprise, Cognos Express are our key focuses of solutions and where we're helping people spend a lot of time in budgeting, planning, forecasting, financial reporting, and business intelligence off of that. We are also a licensed trainer and reseller of the Cognos suite, as well as a unique supplier of Cube Docs to the North American marketplace. And I will just take a slide or two and introduce Cube Docs to you for some of you who may not be aware of it. It is actually right in line with the topic of our webinar today. We work with clients across North America in a number of verticals, as you see there. So, first tip, this is about tips and tricks for the business analyst. And really the first tip that we would like to bring forward, we mentioned briefly on our last webinar, is Cube Docs. Cube Docs is an automated documentation and model management solution specifically for the TM1 environment. This is a solution that has been in the marketplace for a number of years, and customers globally of which Clear Insight is the provider of it to the North American marketplace. And really it brings new dimensions of visibility and governance to your Cognos TM1 solutions and models, and provides centralized, up-to-date information. And for you, those of you on the call who are business analysts, this really can become a way to give you a visual view of what your TM1 environment is and help you to understand better the solution that you're working with and dealing with. So CubeDocs, what it is, and we're happy to demonstrate this or show this independently to anybody. So by all means, that's something you could put forward in the chat or contact us afterwards, and we'd be happy to do a demo for you. But essentially, this solution gets installed into your TM1 environment, and then you're given the option of automatic on a regular basis or manually for CubeDocs to go into your TM1 environment and extract all the details of all the elements of your TM1 solution and automatically create an extensive HTML document of your model. You see the little picture there, and that's actually one of the slides it's generating, showing all the TM1 cubes and the interrelationships between the cubes, and that's really just the tip of the iceberg in the documentation, showing all the dependencies of all the elements of your model. It then a latest solution that recently just came out, version 2.0 of CubeDocs. It is able to compare previous and past models to show you changes. It's able to present the difference between your development environment and your production environment, and becomes a very, very fine-tuning tool to understand your environment and to be able to work with it effectively, whether you're in the development stages of it or the ongoing maintenance of it. Allows you to understand the business aspects of the model and all of your data flows going through the model. So a very handy tool for business analysts and developers alike. So that was one little tip I was going to bring up and wanted to share with many of you on the call. So our session objectives today are, first of all and foremost, it's about you folks who are using TM1 on a day-to-day basis, and really it's to share some of our experience over the many years implementing solutions and helping clients, and some of the tips and tricks that we have come up with. And particularly in this webinar, as we work with users, some of the things that we have found on average users were not aware of, and are able to implement some of these tips and tricks that make things much more efficient for them. And so I'm sure that will be the case for you today. An opportunity for you to collaborate as well in the chat function, to be able to share items. If there's something that you see that perhaps we didn't talk about and you would like to make that highlighted, please put that in the chat, and we'd be happy to do that as well. And then, of course, introduce Clear Insight for folks on the line who may not be aware of us. And ultimately then, that with your Cognos TM1 solution, that you are being able to get the value out of it as it was intended for the Office of Finance to gain back time, control, and confidence in all the work you're doing in finance. So we come to our first audience poll now, because we have a good cross-section of folks on the line, and we would like to understand what solution you are using. TM1, of course, is the back-end database structures as well as a front-end solution, but you could also be using Express Enterprise, disclosure management, and even perhaps a few other solutions. So I'm going to ask Susan to open the poll up now, and you should have opportunity to respond to the poll and select all that apply. It's probably just one solution or one in Cognos Disclosure Management. If you're using FSR, you could click on Disclosure Management as well. So we'll leave that open for a few seconds, and we'll ask everyone to just let us know what direction you're coming from as you look at TM1 today in our webinar. Just another 8 or 9 seconds. There's a few more that need to vote. Okay, that's great. Thanks, Susan. You can close up that poll now. And everybody on the line should be able to see where we're at. So we've got close to 70% are actually using TM1 as your front-end interface, and a number on Cognos Enterprise as well, and a few on Cognos Express. So that's terrific. And some of you who are also using CDM and may be using CDM against your TM1 data structures, which is a very efficient. So we will keep that in mind as we work our way through the webinar. Thank you for that. Okay, our next poll, those are the solutions you're using, but how are you using it? And this gives you an opportunity again to select all that apply. Susan, I'll get you to open up this poll. And as this poll opens up, you're able to let us know, are you using TM1 for budgeting, for forecasting, consolidations, reporting, and business intelligence? So you're no doubt using it for more than one of those items, so just select all that applies. All right, we're just give it another few seconds. Very good, Susan. If you could close that one up then. Thanks everybody for voting, and you should be able to see there the vast majority using TM1 for budgeting, of course the primary purpose of TM1. 65% using forecasting. We work with a lot of clients who brought TM1 on or Express specifically for budgeting and then have begun to expand into forecasting. It's not a big step to move into forecasting from budgeting, and can provide great value to your business. So we would encourage others to leverage that. 50% for consolidation, probably 100% of those clients that need consolidation, a lot on monthly reporting and business intelligence. So all areas that once you've got TM1 in your environment becomes, adds incremental value to your usage of TM1 if you can begin to use it for these other solutions. And we've helped a number of clients do that. All right, our last little poll just before we move into the tips and tricks primary section of the webinar. I'll get you to open up this last poll, Susan. And so we're, again, want to focus our attention and understand the users who are online. We have positioned this one for the business analyst, but select the most appropriate answer. We're only giving you an opportunity to pick one answer, but select the most appropriate answer your usage of TM1. Are you new to TM1 or classify yourself as less than experienced user? Or are you an experienced power user, which really is referencing someone who's going to be using the front end, building reports and very powerful on the front end versus the back end, working more with the cubes? Or an architect, someone who's really designing these systems from the ground up? And encourage everyone to get your bid in on this one. All right, we'll just give you another second or two. Thanks for those last minute entries. Okay, Susan, you can close that poll up. And so we've got a great cross-section of audience, ideal for this webinar, we believe. 40% new user, and then some experience, some power users, and key users on the back end. And we hope to address all the issues that you folks are looking for. So thank you for that. That will be helpful to us as we move forward, and specifically that will be helpful to Megan. I introduced Megan at the start. Megan Coleman is a solution architect with Clear Insight, having worked on TM1 for many years with a past background working for IBM, and Megan has worked on private and public companies, government around North America, helping companies gain utility and build systems for them in TM1. So we're very pleased to have Megan be able to take this webinar today as bringing you the core tips and tricks. And so at this point, we will turn the webinar over to Megan, and I'll just give Megan control, and Megan, you are now online.
Great, thanks Ian. Good afternoon everyone. I think I'm on my wrong slide, apologies. So first I just wanted to present the areas that I'll cover off in the next 25 minutes or so. I'm first going to go through the advanced subset editor, which is often missed and forgotten in the web portions of TM1. I think it's well used in perspectives, but for those business users, perhaps it's getting missed on the web. And then secondly, I'm going to go through some TM1 help. So some resource sites, both IBM based and a few that I personally enjoy using. And then I'll finally discuss the rolling forecast. So some ins and outs of how one method of approach will work. There are a few ways of doing it, but I'll show you just one of those. Okey-doke. So firstly, the advanced subset editor. So just to let you know my approach, I'm going to go through the slide and then I'm going to show you a demo. I'll do that in all three areas. So first of all, you can access the advanced subset editor in a few ways. Firstly, I would use it in perspectives myself as a developer, but where it can be used and is often left out is in TM1 Web or Accelerator Web, as it's known for Cognos Express. The advanced subset editor allows you to do sorting and filtering. For sorting, there's alphabetically by index or hierarchy. On the filtering side, you've got level, attribute, and wildcard. I think wildcard's probably my favorite. It's the most useful. And you can also manage subsets. So while you're doing some analyzing and entering your numbers, you can also save your own personal subsets for use when you come back into those web sheets in the future. So let's take a look. So first, I'm going to go back and forth between perspectives and Accelerator. So we'll start off with Accelerator so you can see a web sheet. Okay. Here we go. So this is just a P&L sheet that actually comes with the Smart Home model, which is an IBM example model. And we'll move over into the forecast detail because it gives a good example. Some dimensions are fairly simple. So if you were to take a look at the organization, that's a fairly simple dimension. You probably don't need a lot of sorting and filtering on that one. But then once you come into something like the account dimension, you've got a lot more to deal with. And as you can see at the bottom on the right, there's this little icon hiding, and this opens up the subset editor. So as you can see already, there are a lot more options than you had previously in just the drop-down. And I should mention, I'm sorry, my mistake, I should have mentioned as I was logging in, this is actually TM1 10.2. So you may be seeing this for the first time. You might be on 952 or 10.1. Oops, my mistake. So you can see here there's quite a bit going on. So we're starting with the all subset. And firstly, I'm going to take a look at filtering. So there are three methods of filtering, as I mentioned. Filter by level simply allows you to filter on the levels that are available in the hierarchy. In the account hierarchy, you have several. They start at the lowest level, so level 0 being, as you can see over here, 4999 gross revenue would be your 0. Whereas moving up the chain, we're hitting statistics at level 4. So as level 0, we'll get all of our level 0s returned. So now I'll go through the other filters for levels. We pop down, we can filter by attribute. So you can select any of the attributes available on the account dimension. So for instance, if you wanted to select the forecast method, oh, sorry. And look at the average for the exchange rate type, then it returns only those with that attribute. Each time when you go to use the filter again, you'll want to hit subset all, which is this button here. Otherwise, the filter is only going to apply on your returned set that you already see, which oftentimes you won't end up retrieving what you're actually looking for. So now we're going to look at the wildcard for the filtering. So for instance, if we look for salaries, it's probably my refresh. I think I may have broken it. Oh, no, there we go. But as you can see, I have caused a problem with the all subset. It's not returning on the left here anymore. So I am going to cancel out and come back in. There we go. So as you could see on that filter by expression, if I look for benefits or benefit star, and the star on the star, it will look for anything containing benefit, which in this case it's only returning one report. Similarly, if we use the find function, we can look for things like revenue, and it will find in context immediately that first occurrence. So you can search on whatever you wish, and it will find the next occurrence. And as you can see, you get an ugly red reminder that you've hit the end of your search. So I'll move on now to filtering, or sorting, sorry. So there are multiple methods of sorting. You can sort ascending, which is as you would expect. Descending works in the opposite fashion. The hierarchy sort is important as well. It will set your hierarchy back and open everything into those hierarchies. As you can see, there's a difference in how this default subset is saved versus how it looks when all of the hierarchies are expanded. And then finally, you can sort by index and ascending at the same time. As you can see now, we've got a few that have closed, and we can use the tree expand to fully expand the tree back out. And then, by contrast, you can also collapse and collapse the tree fully. It's also possible here to create custom consolidations, but these cannot be saved in this particular context, so they're not often used here. They tend to be used more perhaps in perspectives. So finally, I'm going to head over into perspectives just to show you, and it's possible here as well, you can save your subsets on the fly here. So for instance, if I want to save this now, I can say public or override an existing subset. For now, I'm going to leave it private. So now it appears in the list with all of the other subsets. And now just to show you a few differences versus the subset editor that appears in Accelerator online versus Accelerator for perspectives. Here I'm using Accelerator as I'm in Cognos Express. There are more options here. There are typical options, as you see. There's some differences. The all looks different. The way the alias functions is slightly different as well. You have the option to keep and discard from subsets and undo and redo buttons. So you've got a little bit more happening here. But as you can see, most of the things you can do the same thing in the online subset editor. So I think that will cover off the subset editor, and I'll move on to my next slide. So now we're moving on to TM1 help. So there are a lot of online resources. Several of the really good resources do come from IBM. There's a developer work site which has a wonderful forum for users where you can ask questions or provide answers to other folks' questions. That's more geared in a sense towards developers, but there are a number of questions that are posted by business analysts as well. Then there's Support Fix Central, which provides fixes and updates. You can search through the repository available fixes. There are also, it's a good place to get your fix packs and hot fixes. Additionally, there's the support site for TM1, which provides a little more detail for fixes and bug listings and some support documentation that's very helpful. And then additionally, we have Analytics Zone, which is more informational, provides blogs and communities, and there are some nice short training videos and introduction videos, as well as listings of events that IBM is holding. And then outside of IBM, my very favorite is the TM1 forum. It's a great place for getting help with any issues you may be facing. They have news, and there's a lot of, I think the best part being the collaborative help on issues you may encounter in TM1. BI Hints is another great site. It provides, and there's my favorite section, which I'll show you, is the most popular section. And then for Bedrock, another wonderful site, provides best practices and actually a download of commonly used TI processes. So things you may, that a developer would use commonly. So rather than reinventing the wheel, Bedrock will provide these, and you can integrate them into your models. In addition, they actually provide white papers as well. So let's take a look at a few of these sites. So I'm just going to go through them fairly quickly. In a few places I've come to a section of that site that I find to be the most useful. On Developer Works, I find the best thing is really just to do a search on TM1. And then it opens up all of these topics that people have posted, and they're by date, so you can go through and you can see people are posting issues they're having, and you can see the number of responses on a given issue. I find this to be the most useful part of Developer Works, but in addition, if you just go into the main search for TM1, you'll find a few other options. So there's this wonderful, that's the forum, my apologies, I just showed you that. Beyond that, there's proven practices for TM1 on this site, which are fantastic and range in topic. This particular one is a plugin for Apache JMeter, and JMeter is used for performance testing of TM1 as well as other applications, as well as there are other practices as for doing feeders, for instance, which is a challenging topic in TM1. So there's a great many resources here. We'll move on to Fix Central. So Fix Central, this is the main page where you can select your product group and your installed version as well as your platform. And then you can carry on. And now you can browse for fixes, and you can look by APR. Sorry, maybe a little small. So you can browse by APR, or SPR, individual fix IDs, and just search for text, which may be contained inside the fixes themselves. And another great part of the support portal, oh, I'm getting this, is if you should, once again, if you do a search, a lot of what pops up when you do a search, so if you do a base search on TM1, you're going to get a lot of the interim fixes and fix packs and hot fixes and the like. But you can do more detailed searches, and you'll see a lot more on the line of bugs that may be encountered by other customers. So now moving on, take a look. This is what my result was when I searched for my server. So there's all kinds of wonderful resources here now. I personally find, and you can see I've already clicked this link, the troubleshooting documentation to be very helpful. So we all hit roadblocks. And once again, your search results come up all APARs into proven practices and diagnostic tools. And there's wonderful filters on the left-hand side that you can see, so you can filter down by your operating system, the version that you're using, and again at the bottom here by topic. So then I would say probably my favorite TM1 site of all is the TM1 forum. This site is invaluable. You can see the number of options you can post bugs and the status of reported bugs. So you can see here folks have posted bugs that they've submitted to IBM or they've just found and stumbled across and wanted to post for folks in the forum so they would know of their existence. And there's often, as such, folks will actually talk about what the solution is, what their workarounds were in the meantime. This link is great. Suggestions for improvements in TM1. I think we all probably have things we would like to see, and it's nice to have a place to put those out and have a discussion about them. Moving on, there's commercial and events, so places where, in fact, here you can see there's job postings and upcoming events in the TM1 community, as well as useful code and tips and tricks. So this is also invaluable. There's a lot of, while there's much customization to be done in TM1, there's also some very key themes that are really great for people to have a starting point. And the best thing being is this little search box up in the corner. If you're having an issue, you can search this forum, and you're bound to find something pop up to give you a hand and at least point you in the right direction. And the folks on the site are very knowledgeable. So moving on to Analytics Zone. This is an IBM site as well. It's more informational. There are blogs and there are communities, so if you wish you can go into for instance, the Cognos Insight community and take a look. And I find the handiest thing with using the showing section is to actually narrow that showing section down. So to select something like training, it just brings it down a little bit so you know what you're looking at as opposed to looking at it all at the same time. I find that's a little bit clunky. But this site is very useful for more general information. Finally, we'll take a look at BI hints. Oh, sorry, not finally, my mistake. One more after this. So BI hints is similar in some respects to the TM1 forum. So I won't go over all of those things, but my favorite section of this site is down here in the popular content section. So there's a TM1 cookbook, information on TM1 top, should you want it. But there's all kinds of resources here that are really great, including help with feeders, which again is one of the more difficult concepts. And finally, we'll take a quick look at Bedrock. Bedrock is all about sharing knowledge about TM1 and teaching other people to use it. As they state, TM1 is a great product, and the only thing that limits it is basically knowledge and ability to use it. So we'll take a quick look. This would be the TI download that I was speaking of. So if you take a look, open it up here, you can see all of these processes that are very common, often customized, which you're permitted to do. You can make customizations to them, but they are a great place to start if you're starting from scratch. And then in addition, you can see here they've got best practice white papers as well as the modular approach white paper. Their white papers are really nicely laid out. I've opened one up here on managing projects. So I think that'll pretty much take us to the end of the help section. If you wish for, I know I went through this fairly quickly, but if you need some of these websites and I went through too fast, you're more than welcome to contact us and we can go through them with you and hand them out to you. Oh, in addition, I almost forgot to mention, we also have a newsletter that we release, and it's also a great resource for tips and tricks and letting you know about things like this webinar. So I will go back here. So now I'll discuss the rolling forecast. So a rolling forecast is sort of an automatic forecast generally, and it forecasts from 12 to 18 months. I basically will look back at your actuals and push them forward into your forecast, and then you can decide what sort of changes you'd like to make and see for your future months. It employs an assumptions cube, so you can control what the current month is that you're looking at, and then as such it will by extension control that first forecast month, which generally is the next month. So the types of rolling forecast there are really two, and they're based on time. So sorry, I should clarify. There are more than one type like more than just a time-based rolling forecast. There are different ways to implement a rolling forecast. I have chosen to do it via rules. You can do it through TI, and you don't have to use the rules I've used either. There are multiple ways to implement. But on the time side of things, we've got linear time, which is a singular time dimension that combines both the year and the month, as well as nonlinear or stacked time, which is a separate year and month, where those separate year and month dimensions are used. Linear time is generally more readable when comparing actuals versus budget. And it's a little bit more difficult when dealing with year-over-year and variances. But in that case, what you can do is create yourself a relative period. So you'd have a prior year, current year, and a next year, so that you could view things in that fashion. Whereas the nonlinear and stacked is much better if you're doing reports that are variance-based and doing year-over-year by period. It's more natural to do the stacking as it's more dynamic. You have control over the two dimensions separately. Neither way is really better than the other. It's a matter of what is right for your business, which approach you prefer. But really, both types of systems are permitted in a model, and both are very useful, and with some customization, TM1 allows for that kind of flexibility, so that if you wanted, you could have say you're only implementing your budgeting model right now, you'd probably want to go with the linear side, but if you're heading into forecasting, you may be wanting to go along the nonlinear or stacked route. And TM1 allows you to have both of those in the same model. So finally, the way I've implemented this, as I mentioned, was via rules and some attributes. So there's the rules for forecasting and period and relative time attributes, so I will be showing you those. I'll just go through them quickly, and I'll show you also how the data is moving. So I guess we'll head into TM1 Architect. So I'm going to first cover off the linear time. So as you can see, I have multiple views open here. So this is the linear actual versus the linear forecast. So as you can see, and my best mode here is to show you the calendar first. So the calendar is basically where you control when forecasting begins. In this particular implementation, forecasting will start the month after the current month. And you'll see this model in particular already has months completed after the current month, but to show you that it's actually functioning and can flip back and forth, I've chosen July of 2013. So the year is also controlled here. I'm presently not using this forecast month. That was part of the Smart Co-model. So if we take a look, what we should see, what we would expect to see, is since the current month I'm selecting is July of 2013, you would not expect to see any forecasting until August of that same year. So if we come down and we take a look at the forecast, we can see it doesn't begin until August, which is what we would expect, since July is our current month. You will notice, however, that there is in fact data in for the months moving forward. So this is the case in which, as I was discussing, you're probably not looking at doing your year-over-year and your variances with this linear model. You're more apt to be looking at a comparison between a budget and an actual. Okie doke. So we'll take a look now actually what I will do is actually mention, I should mention the rules for this one before I move on. So in this case, I have not, you'll note that there are a great deal more calculations occurring here. I've chosen just to move in the price, the unit sold and the unit cost and the gross revenue. So this is the rule for the unit sold, and basically what I'm doing is checking to see that the month within the forecast is greater than the month within the actuals, and if it is, to grab the prior year, because basically what I'm doing is simply moving the prior year's month directly into the forecast month. So you'll see here we've got 160.53 and 160.53. So that's my start, and then we push forward. So as such, this forecast actually moves out from August of 2013 into the end of 2014, whereas our actuals will stop at the end of 2013. So that covers off the actuals and the forecast for a linear timescale. I suppose I should also mention as well, in this particular case, the units sold are actually entered for actuals. So I'm actually consuming the actuals from within the same cube, whereas for the units, the unit price, the unit cost, and the gross revenue, I'm actually going into the revenue assumptions cube and obtaining those values. And that's the very same behavior for the nonlinear timescale. I'll just close these. So just a quick look now at the stacked timescale. So you can see it's similar, but there is a difference here, and that we've had to include both the year and the month. And you can see how this would allow for good variance comparison and good year-over-year comparisons. And it's really the same. So we've selected August, and so we only see, sorry, my mistake, we only see August, us beginning in August, whereas we've got numbers all the way back from January and heading out. If I were to make a quick change here and say I want to go with May instead, we should see that reflected. And we do. They begin in June and head and push forward once again into December of 2014. There's not much in the line of difference here in the rules. It's simply a matter of factoring in an additional dimension and building those differences and being able to do a comparison between the dates. So I think that that covers off the rolling forecast. If you have any questions, I guess that's where we're moving on to now. So I think, Ian, I'm passing on to you.
All right, wonderful. Megan, thank you very much for that. Great taking us through all of those. And so we are now at a point where we can take a few questions. I think some questions have come in online. And if you have not put a question in or something you would like to see or understand more of, please do put them in now. And so at this time, I will ask Susan, turn it over to Susan to see if there is any questions you want to bring forward for any of us here on the line.
Okay, we did have one question. Megan or Kit, maybe you could answer this. Do you need admin access to save a public I believe it's a subset even on the web.
I can take that one. I believe you need more than, I don't think you necessarily need a min, but a higher level access, because you can, of course, you can always save a subset as private to yourself, but to make it public, you need more than just a regular user access. Megan, do you know the exact level that's required? Is it you need a min, or can you use one of the other groups?
I believe you can use one of the other groups. Yeah, off the top of my head, sorry, I don't have the exact term, but I don't think you need admin. You should be able to be a data admin, perhaps.
Yeah.
Would be enough.
Yeah, because even with a min, by default, it saves a subset as private, and then you have to go in using Architect to make it public so everybody can use it. So.
Okay, so maybe we can get back to him with the exact answer to that question once you guys had a chance to look it up for sure. The second question we had was actually related to Bedrock. Has Bedrock updated their best practices to TM110?
I can't say that I know that, the answer to that question.
The Bedrock website doesn't have version-specific tools. And we've used some of the processes and then the TI processes in Bedrock, and as far as I can see, they haven't incorporated some of the new TM1 10.1 specific function. I think I want a new one with like the cube view 0 out. Megan, do you know that particular one? Because I know that's one of the newer TI functions. So in general, with the Bedrock tools, it'll work probably with any version, but I don't think that they have a specific TM1 10.1 tools.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. I'd have to take a look and see if they've incorporated any of the new aspects.
Yeah, I mean, one thing we can do is you can put up a question on the form. I'm sure
that Megan or Kit would be able to answer any questions you had. If you had a specific one, feel free to email either one of them with their questions.
Indeed.
Okay, if anybody wants any of the information that was provided in this webinar, please do not hesitate to reach out to us. Ian, do you have a slide that we could see that maybe with the contact information?
Yes, it'll be the last slide. We have one slide, and then that'll be the last slide with our contact information.
Okay, well then let me hand it back to you because I don't think we have any more questions at this time.
All right, very good. Thank you. So we have a question for you, and this is our last slide before we give your contact information, and we would like to get your input on items that you would like to see. Some of the things that came out of the questions, but in this poll, if you could, Susan, open up this last poll, help us understand what you'd like to see more of. Again, you can select all that apply here and let us know which one of those you would like to see more of. And a reminder that this webinar was intended to be a webinar for the business analyst to carry you through insights around how folks who would regularly use TM1 could get tips and tricks along that, as opposed to some of our more advanced webinars around details in building TM1 solutions. So we'd just like to hear from you. I know there was a number of architects online as well. So we'll just give you another minute or two or not a minute or two, a few seconds really, to finish up your answers to the poll question, and that would be great. All right, just another 4 or 5 seconds. Okay, thanks, Susan. You can close that one up. And kind of a bit of a cross-section across each of them. A number of you who probably were not using TM1 for BI and dashboard looks like that's one area that you would like to learn more of, as well as on the tool side, so and performance. So there's a number of areas there that are key, and we'd be happy. So we will identify the best route to take for an upcoming webinar, and we'll be sure to have you, each of you, included in the invitations that go out. And of course, then our last little slide here is our thank you to you for joining us. We're just almost right on time, just about to the top of the hour. But please send us an email, info@clearinsight.ca, and we can answer any of your questions. Some of the things that maybe we need to look into from the questions that came out today, let us know that, and we'll get back to you with the detail there. You can follow us on Twitter at clearinsightfpm, as well as the Facebook and LinkedIn groups. So once again, thank you very much for your time with us today. Hope you've benefited from the webinar, and we look forward to seeing you again. And of course, always being available for direct support, consulting, and training as you move forward to try and drive value in your TM1 solutions. So on behalf of Megan and the rest of us from Clear Insight, thanks for joining, and have a great rest of your day.